One day, there was a fierce battle between two extremely powerful armies. The king of the first army, whose name was Chang, was betrayed by his own soldiers. He was cast into the flames, and in his final moments he swore he would never die, and that his curse would haunt them for the rest of their lives. After dozens of years passed, a statue of that king was discovered. Everyone came to know his story. The tale spread widely, even reaching universities. Professors began telling it to students who studied history, and the story eventually turned into a well-known folk legend. In another thread of the story, we meet our protagonist, Xuan. He was just an ordinary student. He was sitting in a lecture, listening to an explanation about the king's statue. The teacher said that the statue still existed, but clarified that the ring associated with the king had disappeared. At that moment, his friend Fuji told him that he had stolen the ring. He said that he needed to evaluate it and find out its true nature and value. He wondered whether it was just an ordinary ring or not, and asked Xuan to handle this task himself. At first, Xuan refused. Then Fuji told him that his mother was sick. He asked him whether he did not need money to treat her. He told him that he would give him the money if he agreed. Xuan replied that he needed some time to think, then left the place immediately. After that, Xuan went to the hospital to visit his mother. He discovered that she was very ill. We learned that he was the one covering all her medical expenses because his father had traveled years ago and left them alone. Since then, Xuan had carried all the responsibilities by himself. Xuan reassured himself about his mother's condition. Suddenly, the nurse called him. She told him that his mother's condition was critical and that the medicine had to be purchased immediately. Xuan asked her for 2 days' time, but she told him that her condition could not wait, as it was getting worse day by day. At that moment, Xuan agreed. He left the hospital immediately, called Fuji, and told him that he was ready to try the ring. Minutes later, Xuan arrived at Fuji's location. He was surprised to find a group of huge guards there, along with a girl. Xuan was attracted to her from the very first glance. At that moment, Fuji gave him the ring and asked him to wear it. Xuan was nervous and afraid. As soon as he put the ring on, the shock happened. Suddenly, he was unable to breathe. His face color changed completely, and something strange came out of his mouth. It attacked Fuji and left him badly injured. The creature began to grow larger and larger until it reached the size of a human. It transformed into a terrifying form. In the blink of an eye, it attacked everyone in the place, taking them down one after another until the whole group collapsed. The monster approached Xuan and was about to kill him, but at the last moment, the girl intervened. She saved him and told him to run quickly. She took him and left the place immediately. After that, they went to a restaurant and sat down to rest for a while. Xuan was completely exhausted, both mentally and physically. Mentally because he had lost hope of getting money to treat his mother, and physically because the images of the killings would not leave his mind. He felt nauseous whenever he remembered the scene. The girl interrupted his thoughts and told him that they needed to go to a hotel. Xuan did not understand why, but he decided to go along with her for now. And indeed, they went together to the hotel. When they entered, Xuan thought about paying, feeling that it was his duty. But he was shocked when he saw the prices and completely lost hope, leaving the girl to pay instead. They went up to the room, where the girl introduced herself. She said her name was Jenny and that she worked as a journalist. She explained that she brought him to the hotel to examine the ring more carefully. Xuan agreed reluctantly. Jenny began examining the ring and wrote down some notes. She asked Xuan to give her the ring, but he strongly refused. She then struck him on the head, and he immediately lost consciousness. Jenny tried to remove the ring from his hand but failed. The ring was embedded in his flesh. She suddenly remembered that she had forgotten her phone at the scene of the incident. That was extremely dangerous for her, as she had filmed the monster with it and could not afford to lose it, so she left the room to search for it. As for Xuan, he was in a deep sleep. He saw a terrifying dream in which he saw the monster. The monster told him that he would never be able to remove the ring and that it would continue to haunt him as long as the ring remained on his hand. Xuan felt intense fear and suddenly woke up. He thought that everything he had seen was just a dream, but the shock came quickly. People broke down the door and stormed into the room. He discovered that they were from the government. They immediately restrained him and told him that he was accused of murder. Xuan asked them what crime they were talking about. They told him that he was accused of killing more than 10 people. Xuan became extremely anxious and remembered Jenny at that moment. He told them that he had not killed anyone and that a huge monster was responsible. He confirmed that there was a witness to his words, Jenny. The two officers looked at each other mockingly and asked him to come with them to see Jenny. They all headed to the room, and when they opened the door, Xuan froze in place, unable to utter a single word. He found Jenny lying on the bed, motionless and badly hurt. The shock was devastating, and Xuan could not understand what was happening, as if the tragedies in this anime would never end. At that moment, the police told him that they had found Jenny's body at the same location where the rest of the bodies were discovered. At the exact scene of the incident, Xuan felt overwhelming fear upon hearing this and tried desperately to wake Jenny, but to no avail. One of the officers grabbed him, slammed him to the ground, then immediately took him out and placed him in the car to transport him to the police station. At that moment, Xuan closed his eyes, broken and devastated, repeatedly saying that he had not killed anyone and that he only wished someone would believe him. When he suddenly opened his eyes, he found the monster in front of him. The monster told him that no one would ever believe him and that the only solution was to kill them all. It assured him that it could grant him the power needed to do so easily. It said that all he had to do was agree to let it possess him. Then he would be able to kill them, escape, and achieve everything he desired. As the monster spoke, it slowly began taking over Xuan's body. But Xuan became furious and shouted that he would never kill any innocent person without reason. The monster calmly replied that it did not matter, and that eventually, Xuan would think about it and accept the offer. Xuan screamed at the top of his lungs that he would never agree. The monster suddenly disappeared. Xuan opened his eyes and found himself inside the car, with the officers beside him on their way to the station. He felt intense fear and began imagining what would happen to him. He imagined himself being sentenced to death. He also imagined his mother's reaction when she learned the truth, and he could not bear even picturing her face. He began screaming hysterically, repeating that he had done nothing, that he had not killed anyone, and that everything that happened was because of the ring. At that moment, one of the officers grabbed him forcefully and slammed him to the floor inside the car, thinking that he was trying to escape. Xuan's pain and distress increased, and suddenly he bit the ring hard, causing the car to shake violently from side to side. Of course, the two officers did not believe anything about the ring. They found logical explanations for everything, believing that the story of the monster and the ring was nothing but meaningless myths. Eventually, Xuan lost consciousness due to the blow inside the car. When he woke up, he found himself in a different vehicle with other people. One of them told him that they worked for Fuji, that they had arrested the two officers, and that Fuji wanted to speak with him. Xuan agreed immediately and held the tablet, speaking with Fuji via video call. When he saw him, he was extremely shocked to find him completely unharmed. He asked how his arm had returned, and Fuji replied that everything could be fixed with money, and that what he had was simply a prosthetic arm. At that moment, Xuan remembered his case and asked Fuji to testify for him, but Fuji refused. He told him that there were many other ways he could get him out easily. On the other side, we see a doctor examining Jenny's body. At the same time, her phone rang, indicating that she had found it before her death. When it rang, the doctor picked it up and turned it off. Suddenly, Jenny sat up, grabbed the phone, and told the doctor not to touch her phone again. The doctor froze in shock, and his shock increased even more when the wound on her body completely disappeared without a trace. We then learned that this doctor was a despicable person sent by Fuji to steal Jenny's phone. He contacted them via radio and told them everything that had happened. Fuji became extremely angry when he learned the truth. Everyone in the car was terrified, even the policeman, who asked in fear whether she was a zombie or something else. Fuji cut them off and told Xuan that he wanted the ring and the girl's phone by any means necessary. He said that if he managed to obtain them, he would reward everyone, especially Xuan. He would cover his mother's treatment and prove his innocence in court. It was clearly blatant exploitation. On the other side, Fuji's combat squad was chasing Jenny. They followed her until they reached that house, when suddenly a massive number of zombies appeared. The soldiers tried to attack them, but it was useless. The bullets had no effect on them at all. In the blink of an eye, the zombies attacked the soldiers and nearly wiped them all out. At the very last moment, one brave soldier activated a grenade. It exploded and destroyed the entire area. We returned to the group that received the news of what happened. Fuji ordered them to head there to uncover the truth. Shortly afterward, they all arrived at that house, which looked extremely strange and terrifying. Everyone prepared to enter, but the officer stopped them in fear. He said that this house was known in police records a haunted house filled with ghosts. Anyone who entered it never came out and disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Despite everything the officer said, Fuji's soldiers paid no attention. They entered the house without hesitation and took the officer with them. The poor man was terrified, but there was nothing he could do. They all went inside and found corridors leading to lower floors. They descended and began exploring the place cautiously. At that moment, the policeman asked them to remove the restraints from him. He explained that if an enemy attacked, he would not be able to defend himself and would become a burden. One of them immediately agreed and removed the chains, and they continued moving forward. Suddenly, a very strange laboratory appeared before them. It was filled with creatures of horrifying shapes, but they did not care much and decided to go deeper inside. When they reached the stairs and began descending, something completely unexpected happened. The door they had entered through suddenly closed, and the stairs turned into something like a slide, pulling them all downward without any chance to stop. Elsewhere, we see that mysterious scientist, who seems to be the main reason behind everything that is happening. Then we return to the group, who could not see anything at all, so they turned on their lights. In an instant, a dense barrage of arrows was fired at them. Some managed to dodge them, while others were hit and fell dead immediately. At that moment, Xuen focused and remembered what he used to study with his father in the past. He remembered something called light sensors. He quickly told the soldiers that what was happening was caused by light sensors, because there was no one actually shooting the arrows. Everything was being done by machines, and machines do not see like humans. The only explanation was the presence of light sensors. Based on that, he told them that the only solution was to turn off all the lights. One of the soldiers turned off the flashlights, then made a smart move by throwing a flash grenade, which disrupted all the cameras in the place. After that, they continued moving forward. They then reached a strange room. Inside it, they found creatures that looked human but had animal heads, half human beings. At first, they thought they were just statues. Suddenly, one of them shattered the glass surrounding it and lunged straight at a soldier, killing him within seconds. Then another creature broke its glass and attacked a different soldier, nearly killing him. Gunfire erupted intensely, but the shock was that these creatures were completely unaffected by bullets. At that moment, everyone realized they were in serious trouble. At that instant, Xuen's hand touched a rock in the wall. Within a single second, a hidden door opened. Everyone rushed inside, and moments later, the door closed behind them. They sighed in relief and were grateful for surviving a problem that seemed impossible to escape. But, as expected, the calm did not last long. Suddenly, the floor began to move, and they realized that the place was not a room at all, it was an elevator. They stood there for a while, then the elevator stopped and the door opened. When they looked ahead, they were completely shocked. They saw a beautiful woman sleeping in front of them. They asked the policeman to wake her up. He was extremely afraid by nature, but he carried out the task. When he woke her, nothing strange happened. She woke up normally and began crying. Suddenly, Xuen noticed something horrifying. He noticed something deeply unnatural about her body. He immediately understood that she was not human. He shouted, warning everyone to move away from her quickly. As soon as she heard his words, her appearance changed completely and became terrifying. In a flash, she attacked the policewoman who was with them, whose name was Maki. At that moment, events erupted violently and true chaos began. Prepare yourself for what is coming, because the story has not yet reached its climax. After After the woman attacked Maki, her fellow officer jumped forward instantly. We learned that his name was Yang. He took the blow in her place. Maki began crying and trying to wake him, but it was too late. Yang breathed his last and died. Xuan became furious and asked her why she was attacking them. He also asked why she had transformed into such a terrifying form. The woman listened to him, then said that since he was going to die anyway, there was no harm in telling him the secret she had hidden from everyone. She said that the secret was that she had undergone an immortality procedure. She explained that the operation was carried out by genius doctors and scientists. She added that no one even knows such a thing as an immortality procedure exists, not the rich, nor even world leaders. But she was able to get this opportunity because she was lucky and beautiful. The soldiers heard her words and decided to test whether she was telling the truth. They opened non-stop fire on her, but their worst fears quickly became reality. The attack had no effect at all. She remained standing, completely unharmed, as if nothing could touch her. The soldiers fled at top speed. Before leaving, they threw a grenade at her. It exploded and destroyed the entire room. Most of the soldiers were killed in the blast. Only 2 soldiers remained, along with Xuan and Maki. Suddenly, one of the 2 soldiers betrayed them. He shot Maki in the leg. He told her that they were going to escape and sacrifice her. He explained that the monster girl was definitely not dead and would return soon. They wanted to sacrifice Maki just to buy some time. They called out to Xuan and asked him to come with them. They told him that Fuji wanted the ring, but their lives were now more important than anything else. They said the ring no longer mattered, and that if he wanted to survive, he should escape with them. Xuan listened to them, but refused to leave Maki alone. When Maki heard that, she felt extremely happy and looked at him with clear admiration. The 2 soldiers left an explosives device with Xuan in case of emergency, then quickly fled. Elsewhere, we see the mad scientist, with Jenny sitting beside him. The scientist became angry and said that she had come to ask for his help, and he had agreed. But what was happening now was unacceptable, because the people below were destroying his equipment. Jenny replied coldly and told him to shut up, calling him an old man. The man was deeply irritated and realized at that moment that she had been using him all along. He activated an iron barrier around himself and electrified it. Jenny was struck by a powerful electric shock. We returned to Xuan with Maki. He was treating her wound. She hugged him because she was extremely scared. Suddenly, they heard a sound approaching. Maki told Xuan to run quickly. She said that she was going to die anyway, that she had lost a lot of blood and could not move. Xuan reassured her and told her not to worry. He asked her to stay where she was and not move, then headed directly toward the source of the sound, showing clear courage and bravery. Suddenly, the savage woman appeared before him. Xuan realized how dangerous she was. He spoke quickly and said that he was ready to give her his body, but only on the condition that she help Maki. The woman listened to him and said that she did not understand anything, adding that she did not need his body. Xuan replied that his words were not directed at her, but at the one behind her. When she turned around, she was shocked by what she saw and could not say a word. The monster lunged at her and struck her with a powerful blow, smashing her body into the wall. It continued attacking her with a series of fast and violent strikes, lifting her up to finish her off completely. But she struck back with a powerful blow using the spiked parts of her body, believing she had ended it. The monster responded mockingly, completely unaffected. Additional arms appeared on its body. It grabbed her weapon, pushed it away from its neck, and delivered the finishing blow. Elsewhere, the 2 soldiers who had left Xuan were walking and stopped to rest for a moment. They removed their masks. Suddenly, strange flying insects appeared and attacked them, embedding their fangs into their heads. It seemed they died instantly. On the other side, Maki was crawling on the ground with great difficulty, trying to reach Xuan. She lost consciousness before she could get to him. Xuan felt intense fear for her. The monster told him there was no other solution. It asked him to surrender himself completely and promised to save Maki. Xuan thought for a moment, realized that this was the only solution, and agreed. The monster began taking over his body rapidly, but suddenly, a blade appeared and struck the monster down. The shock was that it did not die. Instead, its rage increased, and it demanded to know who had done it. That person arrived at the scene and removed his mask. Xuan was shocked when he saw him. Yes, it was the same man who had saved him before. Xuan tried to thank him, but he could not. The monster attacked the man with extremely fast and powerful strikes. It told him that it would kill him and accused him of committing countless massacres in the past, saying that he had burned and killed many people. When Xuan heard this, he understood everything. He realized that this monster was King Chang himself. The statue had appeared. The ring had appeared. And when the ring was worn, the monster appeared. There was no longer any doubt. It was King Chang. When our protagonist Xuan fully understood the truth, he made a desperate attempt to attack the monster with a rock. But the monster blocked the attack effortlessly and shattered the rock as well. Then it immediately trapped Xuan inside that barrier. At that moment, the soldier launched a surprise attack and charged at the monster. The monster disabled him again and again, but his arms grew back again as if they were plants. Each time they regenerated, the soldier attacked and cut them off again. The battle between them intensified violently. Elsewhere, we see Jenny. When she woke up, she found the mad scientist had tied her to the bed. When she asked him why, he told her that he was going to perform a head-swapping operation on her with one of the goats. Jenny was overwhelmed with shock and fear. She struggled violently until she managed to free her foot, then struck him with a powerful blow that sent him crashing into a cabinet. At that moment, one of the monsters was released. That monster appeared as a distorted fragment of a body. The hand began messing with a computer and managed to activate a trap that caught the scientist. He quickly escaped and tried to grab the hand, but failed. During the struggle, he accidentally pressed the self-destruct button. Realizing that the entire laboratory would be destroyed, he hurriedly gathered his research and fled the place. The walls began to crack, and water started flooding in. Elsewhere, the fight between the soldier and the monster continued. Suddenly, a trap appeared and pulled Mackie inside. The soldier noticed this and became distracted. The monster seized the opportunity and struck him with a powerful blow that knocked him to the ground, then moved in to finish him off. At that moment, something strange emerged from Xuan's hand. He attacked the monster with it, and a mysterious light burst forth. The monster suddenly vanished. No one understood what had happened or what that strange thing was. After everything that had happened, Xuan decided to leave the place and search for Mackie. But he was shocked when Jenny fell on top of him from an air vent. It seemed she had managed to free herself and escape. When the soldier saw her, he said she belonged to the immortals because no normal human could die and then come back to life. He immediately attacked her, but Xuan stepped in front of him and told him that Jenny was on their side and had helped them more than once. There was no need to kill her. The soldier replied that he had warned him and that the choice was his. Jenny interrupted them and told them that they had to leave immediately. They moved forward together, only to find the explosives device activated in front of them. Everyone began searching for a way out of this new crisis. The soldier said there was no time left and tried to strike the explosives device with his knife. Jenny stopped him and scolded him. She approached the device, transformed into a strange form, and somehow managed to disable it. She warned Xuan and the soldier not to get close to that form, or she would kill them. Meanwhile, the area continued to flood with water. They moved quickly and suddenly found the two soldiers who had fled earlier. Both were dead. Xuan asked what had happened to them, and Jenny told him they had been killed by giant mosquitoes. Xuan saw the mosquito and was stunned by its enormous size. Suddenly, it woke up and attacked them. Fortunately, Jenny found a secret gate. They rushed inside and escaped, while the soldier stayed behind to protect them, slaughtering the insects despite their overwhelming numbers. The soldier noticed a door that could save him. He shut the gate behind him and ran until he reached Xuan and Jenny. He told them that the place was collapsing. Water was pouring in everywhere, and they had to escape immediately. They ran at full speed until they reached a door. When they opened it, they were shocked by what they saw. The place was extremely strange. Jenny told them that the only way out was to climb that ladder, and to reach it, they would have to swim through the water. They all dove underwater. Suddenly, a gigantic monster appeared and grabbed Xuan. Jenny rushed after him to save him and struck the monster with a powerful blow that severed its arm. She rescued Xuan, and they emerged from the water. But the monster did not give up. It attacked Xuan with a devastating blow that nearly killed him. At the last moment, the soldier intervened and blocked the attack. The monster then revealed its full body. It was a terrifying giant octopus. The soldier threw a grenade at it, but it had no effect and only enraged it further. The monster attacked them, grabbed them, and nearly devoured Xuan. Xuan screamed that he did not want to die. At that moment, Jenny grabbed the firearm and attacked the monster fiercely, literally turning it into a grilled octopus. After that, they climbed the ladder and escaped the place. Each of them returned home to rest. The next day, Xuan woke up to find his world turned upside down. The media announced that he had become a criminal wanted by justice. 2 police officers had arrested him earlier, but they later disappeared, and now he was a fugitive. The bigger problem was that Maki turned out to be the daughter of the city's mayor, which meant Xuan was now entangled in endless trouble. Xuan sat in a state of total collapse. Suddenly, he received a message from the soldier. We learned that his name was Dao. The message said that anyone who wanted to know the secret of the ring had to come to the temple. An address was attached. After everything that had happened, Xuan decided to postpone thinking about everything else. What mattered most to him at that moment was visiting his mother. Shortly afterward, he disappeared from sight and went to the hospital. As soon as his mother saw him, she told him to run away immediately. She said the government was searching for him. She did not know the reason, but she was certain he had to escape right away. Xuan reassured her, saying that he had done nothing wrong, and that he would prove his innocence before the law. He added that he would search for his father so they could all live together again. His mother was overjoyed when she heard this. She thanked him and prayed for him. At that moment, several officers entered, intending to arrest Xuan. But at the last second, he jumped out the window and escaped. Elsewhere, we see the mad scientist again, and we learn that he has taken Maki with him. Even worse, he plans to offer her to his leader, a terrifying figure who survives through a horrifying and inhuman ritual. The real shock is that this leader is the same teacher who appeared at the beginning of the anime, the one who seemed kind and ordinary. In truth, he is revealed to be the mastermind behind all the disasters. The scientist told his leader that he had brought him new prey, the girl. But as soon as the leader saw her, he struck the scientist in the face with a cup and scolded him harshly. He called him an idiot and asked whether he did not know that she was the mayor's daughter. He said that by doing this, he was opening the door to countless problems. The scientist collapsed to the ground, apologizing. He said that everything that happened was because of Jenny, because she was the one who brought a group of people to the laboratory. But the leader cut him off violently and said that Jenny was not the problem he was. He insulted him, calling him stupid and useless. It appeared that Jenny had also been working with the leader. The scientist became furious at the leader's insults and suddenly transformed into a completely different form and attacked him. But his attack had no effect at all. Unexpectedly, the leader removed the blindfold from his eyes. Countless black threads emerged from them and completely annihilated the scientist, leaving no trace behind. We returned to Xuan running through the street. Suddenly, a car appeared in front of him, and 2 people dragged him inside. When Xuan looked to see who had kidnapped him, he discovered it was Fuji. Fuji grabbed him and demanded the ring immediately, threatening to permanently injure him. Terrified, Xuan told him that he knew a way to remove the ring. He said it could be done by going to an ancient temple with the soldier Dao. Fuji listened and told him that he would give him one last chance. He ordered him to remove the ring as soon as possible, then threw him back onto the street and drove away. Xuan thought about his clothes, since he had nothing. When he saw a clothing store, he went in and bought 2 outfits, then returned home, and the day came to an end. The next day, Xuan headed toward the temple. It was located near the forests, forcing him to walk a long distance. He walked for a long time without reaching it and became extremely exhausted. Suddenly, he tripped and fell down a slope. When he got up, he heard a girl screaming. He saw a group of young men chasing a girl through the forest. He quickly recognized her. It was one of his university classmates, and her name was Taro. Taro kept running until she reached a dangerous cliff. If she fell, she would surely die. The young men told her to hand over the necklace around her neck, saying it was an artifact that belonged to them. They promised not to hurt her if she gave it to them. Taro refused, saying that she had owned the necklace since childhood. They became furious. One of them pulled out a weapon and was about to kill her, but at the very last moment, Xuan intervened and knocked the weapon upward. People gathered around them and tried to pull Xuan away. Amid the chaos, one of them approached Taro and pushed her. She fell off the cliff. The moment Xuan saw her fall, he ran and jumped after her without hesitation. Xuan did not think about the consequences. He jumped only to save her. But his fear and anger triggered a strange energy within his body, and that demonic arm emerged. He used it quickly to cling to the rocks. When Taro saw his form, she was terrified. Fortunately, both of them landed on a huge rock without being injured. Taro thanked Xuan, and he asked her why she had come to such a dangerous place. She told him that she loved legends, magical monsters, and exploration, and that there were many stories about these mountains. She had come to see for herself whether they were true, but unfortunately she ran into bandits who tried to steal her necklace. Xuan reassured her and told her not to worry, promising that he would not leave her until he returned her safely to her home. Taro was happy to hear that, but at that moment, Xuan noticed something strange. He saw a group of coffins hanging on the mountain. Taro told him that they were the dead, and that in the past, one of the burial methods in Mount Famo was to hang the dead inside coffins. The moment Xuan heard the name of the mountain, he was shocked. He remembered the last time he had seen his father when he was a child. Back then, his father had told him that he was going to excavate in the Famo Mountains. Since that day, he had disappeared without a trace. Xuan remembered all of this and thought to himself, if only you hadn't left us, father. But his inner voice was interrupted when he heard a strange movement. Xuan panicked and tried to identify the source of the sound. Suddenly, a dwarf-like creature appeared before him. Xuan asked who he was and what he wanted. The creature replied that his name was Shozi, that he was a friend of the soldier Dao, and that he had come to guide him to him. He added that he was also an assistant to one of the kings of the Famo Mountains. Xuan listened and agreed. Shozi then opened a magical teleportation gate, and they all stepped through it. In a single second, our protagonist Xuan found himself in a completely different place. He met Dao there and immediately asked him about the method to remove the ring. Dao asked him to calm down and said that they needed to rest first and get themselves organized. A short while later, they went together to bathe in the hot springs. After they finished, they returned to their rooms and slept. The next day, Xuan woke up and wandered around inside the cave. Suddenly, he discovered a small opening. He stepped out through it and was stunned by an astonishing sight. He saw gigantic buildings that completely shocked him, especially since moments earlier he had been inside a dark cave. He continued walking until he accidentally witnessed a person of the same kind as Shozi, one of the short-statured dwarves. That dwarf was fighting one of the immortals. They exchanged blows left and right, until the dwarf ultimately defeated him. At that moment, two figures appeared in front of Xuan, and it became clear that they were kings. One of them noticed the ring on Xuan's hand and was deeply shocked. He asked how Xuan had obtained the ring and told him that it was one of the temple's treasures. He accused him of stealing it. Xuan tried to explain, but before he could finish speaking, the king ordered his immediate execution. At the last moment, Shozi appeared and saved the situation. He told them that Xuan had not stolen the ring and informed them that the emperor was summoning everyone because he wanted to speak with them. Everyone hurried to the emperor's hall and sat before him. Xuan found a tray full of food in front of him. He was extremely hungry and could not resist, so he began eating immediately. One of the kings saw this and became furious. He stood up, flipped the tray over, smashed it, and shouted at Xuan for daring to eat without the emperor's permission. He attacked him with a bolt of electricity. Everyone was shocked. Xuan blocked the attack and transformed into his demonic form. The king grew even angrier and launched a series of consecutive attacks, but Xuan dodged them easily. He then counterattacked, grabbed the king by the neck, and slammed him violently to the ground. The emperor stepped down from his seat and ordered Xuan to stop fighting. But Xuan did not respond and tried to attack the emperor himself. He failed, as the emperor activated a protective barrier at the last moment. The kings gathered around Xuan, preparing to kill him, but one of them stared closely at him and recognized features resembling his father's face, as if he knew something about him. The emperor intervened and ordered everyone to sit down immediately. They all complied. The emperor asked Xuan about the origin of the ring and told him that it had been one of the temple's treasures for decades. 3 people had worn it in the past, and all of them had died. Xuan was terrified and begged for help, pleading with him to remove the ring. The emperor replied that he could not remove it and that his power was insufficient. He stated clearly that there was no one in the world capable of removing the ring. Xuan felt hopeless, but the emperor comforted him and told him that his situation was not entirely bad. He explained that the 3 people who had worn the ring before died instantly and did not survive even a single day. Xuan, however, was still alive. That meant there was something different about him. The emperor then asked him to return the next day, as he wanted to tell him something very important. Xuan agreed and left. Elsewhere, the 4 kings secretly gathered and plotted to harm both Xuan and the emperor, revealing their true malice. In another place, we see the leader with Jenny. They had approached the temple where Xuan was. The leader said they had to reach it quickly because he wanted to obtain the ring. We return to Xuan, sitting with Dao in a celebratory atmosphere. But Xuan was absent-minded, thinking about many things and wondering why he had not died like the 3 people who wore the ring before him. Suddenly, he felt something strange in his body and told Dao that he was experiencing an abnormal change. When Dao heard this, he froze in shock and realized that Xuan had entered a very dangerous stage. We move to the emperor, walking through one of the corridors. Suddenly, he heard a strange sound and approached to investigate. Without any warning, a gunshot was fired at him. The scene ends with the emperor collapsing, dead. The sound of the gunshot was loud and echoed through the area, reaching everyone nearby, including Xuan and Dao. The 2 of them rushed at full speed toward the source of the sound. Within seconds, they arrived and found a group of dwarves standing there, saying that someone inside had killed the emperor. Dao became furious and immediately drew his dagger. He charged toward the gate and managed to enter without being burned by the flames. Inside, he saw the killer. Here comes the greatest shock of all. The killer is Taro. Dao angrily asks her why she did it. She replies that everyone has been deceived by the emperor and insists that he is an evil man. She says that he killed her father in the past, and not only that, he also slaughtered an entire exploration team. That happened 5 years ago. When Xuan hears her words, he freezes in place, as if his mind has completely stopped. He begins connecting the events together. An exploration team 5 years ago, Mount Famo, and his father who used to work in exploration teams and disappeared 5 years earlier after heading to the very same Famo Mountains. Doubt starts creeping into his heart, and he tells himself that what he is thinking is impossible. To confirm the truth, he asks Taro to tell him everything. She agrees and begins explaining. She says that in the past, Mount Famo was inhabited only by dwarves, and no humans lived there. She explains that the 4 kings and the emperor were originally dwarves. She continues, saying that one day a human exploration caravan reached the mountain, but some immortals attacked them. The dwarves intervened, saved the caravan, and took them to the temple, feeding and caring for them, because dwarves are kind by nature. What no one expected was the emperor's and the 4 kings' demonic plan. The 5 of them secretly gathered and launched a sudden attack on the caravan, wiping it out in moments. Through a dark and forbidden process, they were able to take on human forms. Everyone is left in shock, unable to believe what they are hearing. At that moment, Shoji arrives and confirms that Taro is telling the truth. He admits that he witnessed the fate of the exploration caravan and saw the 5 dwarves carry out the act, explaining that he had been forced to hide. He then looks at Xuan and delivers the harsh truth. He tells him that his father was one of the members of that caravan and that he died with them. When Xuan hears this, he is overwhelmed with pain, and his rage explodes instantly. He swears that he will not leave alive anyone who took part in killing his father. Because of the intensity of his anger, the demonic power manifests on his body, and the area around him erupts. Fortunately, Dao manages to save Shoji and Taro at the last moment. Xuan emerges from the rubble, filled with rage and hatred. Suddenly, the 4 kings stand before him. One of them attacks first, launching a powerful blast of fire that hurls Xuan backward and then sets the entire place ablaze. Everyone believes Xuan is dead, but he shocks them by emerging from the flames and charging forward, using his demonic arm to deliver a powerful blow that sends one of them flying. The four kings are enraged and launch a combined attack. One uses fire magic. Another creates a raging wind vortex around Xuan, while the others attack as well. But Xuan stops the vortex and deflects all the attacks with ease. He counterattacks with his demonic arm and manages to strike them. They all survive except one, who is badly wounded and bleeding heavily. The injured king screams and demands that the others unite immediately. They synchronize their powers and cast a binding spell, restraining Xuan from multiple directions. Even so, he manages to break the chains and shatter the spell. However, one of them surprises him with a fire strike from the sky, altering the trajectory so that it comes from an angle Xuan cannot see. The attack hits him directly, and he loses consciousness. One of them quickly says that they must kill him now and prepares to do so. At the last moment, Dao arrives and saves Xuan, shouting at them that they are demons, not humans, and never will be. Dao attacks one of them with his dagger, but the king blocks the strike and throws Dao away, nearly killing him. At the last second, Shozi intervenes, stopping the spell and even apologizing to the four kings, but they reject his apology, saying that anyone who makes a mistake must be punished. They attack Dao, but Shozi steps in front of him and takes the blow in his place. He suffers a fatal wound and dies. Dao holds his body and cries in anguish. After that, the kings restrain everyone and take them to another room. One of them tries to cut off Xuan's finger to take the ring, but is shocked when a strange light protects Xuan's hand. They realize they will never be able to obtain the ring. They decide to dispose of him instead. They throw Xuan into a deep well and leave the place. At that moment, the leader arrives with Jenny in the same room. They sense Xuan's presence below and jump into the well together. Inside, Xuan is lost in his thoughts, recalling everything he has been through. He says that he is tired of all this suffering and feels that he will die without avenging his father. Suddenly, the monster appears behind him and tells him not to give up or die there. It warns him that if he dies, Dao and Taro will be left to be killed by the kings. It says that the only way to save them is to live and to allow it to take full control of his body. It explains that this time it is not merely borrowing power, but complete possession, and that it will avenge him against everyone who harmed him. Xuan listens to these words, hesitates briefly, then agrees. At that moment, his body begins to transform. And here, the events of the anime come to an end. As for the second part, it has not been released yet, and there is no news about it so far.